The unfortunate incident of the gospel singer Osinachi is still fresh in our memories. How she was beaten to death by her husband, who always beat her, but she was always keeping it from her relatives and friends to protect her marriage in line with the Christian doctrine of uh, marriage for life. That once married, a person is not supposed to uh, divorce or separate from the marriage. And so to be a good and faithful Christian, the lady Osinachi uh, kept the secret of her of her being constantly beaten by her husband from relatives and friends until the man uh, took it for granted and beat her to death out of anger as usual. Because of it, it was part of his habit to beat the lady. It became like a pleasure for him beating the woman. And because she had no uh, confrontation or rebuke by anybody, he took it for granted that it was normal. It became part and parcel of his life to beat the woman. Yeah, it's horrible, sad. You don't want to think about it. But since that incident 3 or 4 years ago, uh, several others have happened, including in Edo State. I think it was Benin City, to be precise, where the couple were residing. And the story is that the man had been beating her right from courtship until he beat her to death, like in the case of Osinachi. Several cases have happened since the incident of Osinachi some years ago. Even a Nigerian couple living in London or in England or in the UK, where the man smashed her head to a wall, broke her head, knocking it on the wall until the head got broken. They left Nigeria on the Japa syndrome, and things were not going well between the duo, with the man accusing her of infidelity and sometimes beat her until that fateful day when he kept knocking her head on the wall until it became broken. And the latest in Lagos State, the couple, according to the wife, always beat each other and using instruments, inflicting wounds and fracture on each other. until that fateful day, the man went for a pestle to smash the head of his wife. Unfortunately, he smashed the head of his son, his first child and only child, and then took to his heels. I don't know whether he has been apprehended, but it's another unfortunate occasion to remind ourselves about the danger of anger and to be reasonable in whatever we do, irrespective of what your foreign religion tells you. Yeah, because religion is not God. It's a human fabrication. Yes. With particular reference to the Abrahamic religions, fabricated from the myths of God appearing to Abraham and calling Abraham and making a covenant with him. A covenant that God made with humanity from creation to obey his laws or face his anger. So, what is peculiar to God calling Abraham in that? It's an eternal covenant with humanity. You obey God's laws, God's commands, or you face his wrath. So, but then Christianity came up with a virgin woman who gave birth to God and redeemed human beings, took away human sins and all of that, fabrication. Or that an angel brought a book from heaven to Prophet Muhammad, therefore, oh my God. All this, all the scriptures are political. They are political. Religions fabricated to control human mind and human lives, extending to societal life. Religions that are means of control rather than means of getting to God. If you want to get to God, you only need to know that love of your neighbor is how to get to God, because we are told God is love. And he who abides in love abides in God, and not he who accepts Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, not he who accepts Prophet Muhammad as the prophet of God and the Quran as his book. God wrote no book. God wrote no book. God is love. That is the one that makes sense to me as somebody born and raised in African traditional religion. Well, but why will God not love his own creation? Because we are his creation. So his loving us is absolute sense. So, and when you love your neighbor, you love God's creation, and God will naturally love you. So, but all these other things added, unless you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior. Oh my God. Unless you accept Prophet Muhammad as the prophet of God, unless you accept his book, the Quran, unless you accept Kaaba, oh my God. So these are the confusion being created by people who have become disoriented from being religious. So, but not to distract from the point of anger, controlling our anger, but more importantly, there's what is called marriage compatibility. You may not be aware that you are not compatible until you get into marriage and become married. But once in the marriage and you discover incompatibility, you separate. That is how it should be and has been since creation. Divorce is not a new term. It has been there since time immemorial. That when two married people found out that they are incompatible, they separate. If you don't kill him, he may kill you. Why must it degenerate to that? If you know that, he was beating her even during courtship, and yet she married him, and he was still beating her until he beat her to death. This woman whose son was killed by being smashed with a pestle told the police that they always fought and always used instruments to fight, and yet she stayed in the marriage. Now, it was not the wife that was killed, though the pestle was meant for the head of the wife. We don't know how it landed on the head of a 3-year son, their only son, possibly their first and only son. But they had no other child. So 2 issues: anger, or 3 issues. Anger, issue of compatibility, that if you are not compatible, you separate. Why do you see your marriage to this person as do or die? Because that's the third issue now. Why do you see the marriage as a do or die? Because of Christian doctrine that once married is for life, for better, for worse. If it is for worse, take to your heels. And as I told you, these are fabricated religions to control human mind, and too many people become disoriented and cannot even apply their reason, because part of what they want from you is not to use your reason but to follow their dictations in the name of God. Indoctrination. Academically, we call it dogmatism. Do as I say to be a child of God. Is that God speaking to you, or your religious colonizers who have disoriented you to own you? As I say, the foreign names you are giving as a Christian or Muslim is to possess you, to own you. Because whatever you name, like you name your child, that child is yours. So let us be careful about these missionary religions. I've asked severally, what are they propagating? God, who is self-propagating, who is everywhere in his own world, in this world that he has created, and is omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. So what is anybody going to teach what is any people going to teach any other people about God? It's like somebody wanting to teach you about your parents. Your parents are alive, you are alive, and somebody is coming to teach you about your parents. And even say you don't know your parents until he tells you about your parents. That's how it is for these foreign missionary religions. And I say you, Isheshe people, imitating foreign religions, you are doing disservice to our ancestors. They are not religious like Christians and Muslims. They are festival people. The rest of their life is prayer, prayer, goodwill, good behavior, good character, sensible talk. That's what they value, not being religious, unless you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior. So what will happen or not happen? Go to China, go to India, go to Japan, go to Korea, North and South. And these Asian countries that never accepted the Christianity, Islam as other peoples, you know. So that is it. Whoever have ears to hear, let them hear.